Looks like it's that time of the month.
Thank you for joining us once again. My name is Key, and this is my associate, Hollaback Girl. That's all one word and all uppercase. Classic Hollaback Girl. In the fourth worst year of my life, 2013, a movie released that changed absolutely nothing about society. Released on July 13th, 2013, which unsurprisingly happened to be this year's Shark Week on the television network Sci-Fi, Sharknado is about exactly what it sounds like. A tornado that has sharks in it. I'd say you can't make this stuff up, but clearly you can. This movie was never meant to be taken seriously. It's described as a science fiction comedy disaster film, and oh boy, 3 of those 4 words sure do describe the movie. The movie had a low budget of only about $2 million, and for some perspective, the company that made this movie, The Asylum, only made about $5 million a year at this time, so they put a large percent of their funds into this project. When the film initially released, it only brought in about 1.2 million viewers, which is actually below Sci-Fi Network's average of about 1.5 million for their original movies. But after everyone's favorite Blue Bird app caught wind of this film, they decided to re-air it next week, and it pulled in 1.9 million viewers. And the week after that, a stunning 2.2 million viewers. It also released in a few select theaters, about 200, and made $200,000, which, before you say sounds bad, I want you to remember that Morbius re-released in 1,000 theaters and only made $300,000. But that's enough foreplay. I think it's about time we get into the sex of this video. Our movie begins with a shot of the aforementioned Sharknado itself, and oh boy, I am quaking in my Louis Vuitton boots. We see 2 men, one is the captain of this boat with a questionable accent, and the other is a man who wants to buy something. The captain pulls out his 100% off coupon and makes a sale. He says we shouldn't be afraid of the sharks. Ha, funny. Oh yeah, also, CGI boat, CGI water, CGI clouds. If I were directing this movie, I'd make a point just to see how much random CGI shit I could fit into this film. Like, I just have a random CGI coffee mug for no reason. I'd make it like an Easter egg hunt. Suddenly, a shark lands on the boat, also CGI, and performs a jump scare. This guy tries to run away, bruh, but the man says he'll be taking the money and the ship and then gets immediately shot in the leg. We don't actually see him get shot, presumably because prosthetics cost too much. But we do get this CGI shot of his leg with a bullet hole wound, and then a shark eats him. Presumably for comedic effect. And then the shark wave dashes on this fucking scrub, and we cut to white people. This is to foreshadow that this movie will be going downhill from here. We see 2 conventionally attractive white men checking out a woman while credits roll. They mention how the waves look unnatural and do exactly what white people do in movies like this, and jump straight in. Ominous weather rolls in, and they actually decide to leave, the most unnatural part of this whole movie. We meet 2 more main characters. Chevy Chase then decides to sexually harass the other, because, you know, boys will be boys. He then casually mentions an oddly shark-shaped scar that she says she got while shaving herself. Yeah, sure. They also name drop our main character's name, and it's Finn. Seriously going for the Oscars this year, aren't we, guys? We get another shot of this woman putting on her jacket, and god damn it, they're going back into the water. They flirt, and then they both go into the water together. They notice a shark, and Finn has the brilliant idea to tell this lady to get out of the water, but leaves the decision of how up to her. She drowns? Oh no, she's dead now. He tells more people to get out of the water, and refuses to do so himself. People evacuate after getting attacked, and Finn is left in the water. This guy forgets he's on a speedboat and waits to be eaten. But Finn heroically comes to the rescue. He attacks the shark with their greatest weakness, surfboards. Max says, "Thanks, bud," and they make their way back to the shore. Max says these sharks have no etiquette. Well, I'm sorry they didn't pull out a fork and knife and get their little napkin. What the f do you want? Finn replies, "I thought you were Australian, not British," and they make their way back to shore. We see this guy who very clearly got his leg bit off. There are still people running away, and rock music plays as we transition into the next scene. Finn does this, and then Max lies about what actually happened out in the water. Sexual the Abuser references how the sharks were unnaturally bold and in extremely high quantity. Everyone thinks he's stupid, but to be fair, even a broken clock works twice a day. Even though it was bright outside 2 minutes ago, a hurricane is now forming. He calls his seemingly ex-wife, Kim Wexler. Okay, I do feel like I need to state this. Her actual last name is Wexler, but that's not her first name. I'm going to call her Kim Wexler for the entirety of this video, only for funny points, but that's not actually her name. Turns out, Finn is a good dad and Kim is a bitch wife, and doesn't want him to take the kids out for the weekend. A decision she will surely regret saying no to. He even offers to take just one of his kids, but she still says no. We then learn that these two are actually still married via the hilarious banter of all of our lovable side characters. We learn that this old dickhead's name is George, and that he's already shit-faced at 2 p.m. during Shark Week. Betting money, he's the first to die. Out of literally fucking nowhere, a shark not only gets onto shore, but in the bar window, but he's quickly dispatched with a dull stick. The cast then decides it's time to defend themselves. They each grab weaponry, consisting of, but not limited to, a chair, a bat, and a 12-gauge shotgun. Nova gets jump scared by a shark, fails to aim the gun for 6 seconds, and George decides to be useful and kills it with a chair. Max loads the shark with a gas tank, and Finn shoots it, and then this happens. But just when they don't think they're safe, a Ferris wheel falls, and they run away from it in a straight line. On the news, they say this is what remains of the Santa Monica Pier, but this looks like a normal beach. Fewer umbrellas than normal. I think that's a good thing though. If they got blown into the ocean, it's just food for the turtles at that point. Finn says he needs to go check on his wife and kids, and Max makes an appropriate joke about how he actually f***ed Finn's wife, and that his daughter is actually his. Nova decides to come along and check on Finn's wife and kids. This is probably because she wants her turn with Kim Wexler. Nova mentions how the water's rising, and Finn says they'll be fine. There's now sharks in the street, so Finn is immediately wrong. Nova notices that the shark is in the water is actually a tiger shark. Finn asks how she knows that, and she promptly responds with Shark Week, and I'm gonna be honest, I'm gonna give the movie an extra point for that. I think it's genuinely funny. Finn also says he won't need the gun again, but he's also then immediately wrong when sharks begin to attack the car. Finn says the shark is under the car, but if that were actually the case, they wouldn't be able to drive because the water would be too high. They're in a fucking car. Chevy Chase then says they should all take the highway to Beverly Hills and gives them specific instructions on how to get there. Everyone questions how he knows the way to get there, and he actually mentions that he lives there. He just drives to the coast every time he wants to go to the bar because he says he likes the, and I quote, scantily clad women. He also jokes about how he wishes to marry Nova and gives her this very comfortable touch on the shoulder. He also says he thinks about her every day and night and thinks about her everywhere he goes. This random bystander with a Jersey accent says that Californians are afraid of water and that this rain is nothing, and then he quickly gets his comeuppance. Finn decides to go be a hero and helps the people who are drowning and being attacked by sharks. Everyone else goes to help by opening the car doors to the people who can do that themselves. Chevy grabs his chair and uses it to get Clifford, the average-sized brown dog, out of this lady's car. George gets crushed by this wave and eaten by this shark. We hear him cry out for help painfully as he screams, "Ow, get off." He's dead now. Also, called it. Nova, who has been inappropriately touched by this man twice in the last 25 minutes, cries the hardest, seemingly out of happiness. Finn times his driving to get through the waves, and wow, they all don't die 29 minutes into the film? Shocking. And they then continue to make their way to the Wexler residence. This sign is CGI, as well as this Prada sign, and I wouldn't be pointing this out if it was good CGI. Also, there's this random shot of a shark coming out of a storm drain. The Breakfast Club then arrives at Kim's house and she's ecstatic to see him. She immediately tells Finn to leave in the middle of a hurricane, calls Nova a stripper, and then the stripper shoots a shark that comes out of a storm drain in midair, and then after finding out that the stripper is cracked with a golden scar, she then invites everyone in. Claudia, Finn's daughter, and Kim's new boyfriend say that they're staying. After calling Kim property and telling Finn that rain in California isn't that bad, he opens a window to be immediately domed by a shark. And to be honest, I am a little bit jealous. Nova and Max are knocked back by the flooding water. They all attack the shark, and trust me, it's really cool. But I can't show any of it because during this entire scene, Kim's boyfriend is getting killed by the shark, and there's too much blood, and I do not want to scare YouTube. They push the shark against a wall, but it submerges into the water, and Nova, who killed a shark with one shot 2 minutes ago, requires 6 shotgun shots to kill the shark now at point-blank range. Finn lies and says, "Nice shot," and Max hilariously looks at the bloody water and says, "Looks like it's that time of the month." A joke that could fit anywhere into this film, but they waited 36 minutes into the film to use it where it's really funny. Another shark enters the room, but they decide this is now a good time to hold a family meeting, where Finn discovers that his son, Matt, is at flight school. Nova then also discovers that Finn even has a son, because nobody tells anybody in this house. Finn decides to distract the shark so everyone can get to the car by running into the water. Finn kills the shark with a lamppost, and then everyone patiently waits for his arrival like a group of 27-year-old men waiting for Half-Life 3. He then somehow appears outside of this bush, and all the kids pile into the pussy-mobile. They all get in the car and make their way to Matt. Nova cocks her gun, and Finn says, "Not gonna lie, it's kind of hot when you do that," and Kim is visibly disturbed. I was too. They come across a battle bus, and Finn says that they should check for child survivors, but Kim says that this is typical of him, and he has a tendency to care more about other people than he does his own family. And the bus is clearly empty anyways. Okay, I made that bitch wife Breaking Bad joke earlier, but are you serious? Like, I wouldn't go check that bus, but not because I care about those kids more than I care about my own family. F*** them kids. But seriously, That shouldn't be her reason. The reason should be, dude, there's a shark right there. They make their way to the top of the bridge, and Finn decides to rappel down. The bus driver lies to the kids and says that they'll all be okay. Finn begins his descent and makes his way to the bus, and for some reason use this backdoor entrance and not the top entrance that every school bus is legally required to have. After opening the door, much to Kim's dismay, there's actually plenty of children on this bus, a Minecraft YouTuber's wet dream. They send the students up one at a time. Time passes and now all that's left is the bus driver. The shark finally begins to attack. This guy talks about how much he hates his job and his life. It's okay, guy. I hate your life too. And if you guessed we'd be getting a shark fight in this scene, congratulations on realizing how predictable this movie is. Finn says this, and I'm using verbatim here, "I've had enough of you," and cuts the shark off the wire. It appears the storm has stopped, only for it to become extremely windy. We get lots of shots of this bus driver, and it's kind of framed weird, so I feel like he's gonna... Okay. Everyone is generally unfazed by this, and it turns out the engine in the car has just now began to flood. Max says that the car only has a short amount of time left, and they should consider committing Grand Theft Auto. Just then, we get our first shot of the titular Sharknado. After driving for some time, a shark lands on the car, and Nova repeatedly recommends that they kill it. Genius idea. It's not so quickly dispatched with a shotgun. The car's engine begins to flood, and it blows up. I'm not sure that's how that works, but okay. They walk into a convenience store that's for some reason still open, but all the shelves are empty, so business must be booming. Only in capitalism are profits more important than the safety of the employee. The clerk at the store goes on for about a minute about how the government controls everything, including the weather. It's a rather prolonged joke, and it's seemingly to make this joke longer at the cost of losing its funny points. The cast questions how they could even reach Matt's flight school at this point, but then they get the ex machina of a f***ing lifetime. An accident happens on the road. Really? That's what we're at now? That's what this movie's left with? That's like, it's a disaster film. Of course there's an accident on the road. Why are they even clearing this? They should be evacuating. They decide to run through the busy intersection with their newfound monster truck. Also, this truck has nitro. The scene was unnecessary, and I just wasted a minute and 36 seconds of my life. The Sharknado worsens, and the cast sure does take note of it. They all go to find Finn's son, Matt, but the warehouse is seemingly empty, and Mac decides to look at the storm again to find it's exactly the same. Nova gets spooked and finds a group of people hiding in a room. I don't even really know. It looks like a room, but there's no like actual door. I don't know what this is. They just barricaded themselves in somewhere. They hear a thud and this lady gets sucked off. Yes, I know what I said, but I'm too lazy to re-record. They all hide until the storm decides to be nice again. It takes exactly 20 seconds. I'm not kidding. In between the time that lady died and this scene, it has been 20 seconds. The crew spots a helicopter they might be able to use, but unfortunately it won't fit everybody, so they decide to stay and fight the hurricane head-on, which will probably have as much effect as Twitch.com's TOS on their popular female streamers. They walk over to the surplus station that just happens to be next door, God bless America, and find all the chainsaws they could ever need. Matt recommends that they drop a bomb into the hurricane, which will stop the hurricane because there will be no cold air to make the hurricane. Also, they refer to it as both a hurricane and a tornado, depending on whichever is most convenient for the film at the time. I want to make it abhorrently clear that I'm not inconsistent, the movie is. Finn is against the idea of dropping a bomb into the hurricane because he copyrighted the idea of saving lives in the most reckless way possible. But after 45 seconds of convincing, he's raring to go. Finn's daughter decides now is the best time to say that she wishes her father was more present in her life because, and I quote, "You guys are always there for Matt, but you're never there for me." He literally drove from the coast to Beverly Hills for your sorry ass. And his wife fucking hates him. He was objectively there for you first. Also, in the very beginning of this movie, he tried to use his visitation time to save your sorry ass. And he literally actually does say that he came for her first. A lot of movies would just let him stand there and be like, oh, she's right. But no, he literally says that. So, thumbs up. Matt sees Nova's sexy scar, and she sheepishly hides it. Quick question, why does she wear shorts that short if she doesn't like people seeing the scar? It would be different if it was people asking about the scar, but she seems to fucking hate this scar, so it just seems weird that she'd present it at all. Also, there is no fucking way that Matt got a scar this large when he was 2. He would have bled to death. She says she does not want to talk about it, but Matt gives her those f me eyes, and she has no choice but to tell. And what a surprise, it was a shark bite. I would have never seen that coming. Oh yeah, and her grandfather died. And all the Coast Guards who tried to save her. Skill issue. Max doesn't ruin the moment at all, and they load everything into the helicopter. Max says if they can't put the bomb in from the top, he'll try to put one in from the bottom, well aware that this is a one-way journey. Nova and Matt take off to capture point A while everyone else stays to spawn camp the sharks. Nova says there are too many sharks and then immediately after that says we're gonna need a bigger chopper. Hilarious! They then drop the first bomb into the hurricane. And holy if I wasn't watching Sharknado, I would be surprised to learn that worked. Finn kills a stray shark and we see Max and this guy try to finish up the truck plan. But it's cut short when these guys get fucking destroyed. Oh, and Max gets his leg bit again, making him tonight's biggest loser. Max is so clearly in pain and then gets swept away by the Sharknado. Nova and Matt make their way to the second tornado and the other crew decides it's time to head out. The second bomb works as planned, but we're gonna have to take the movie's word for it because it doesn't actually show it happening. The crew arrives at an old folks home and Max selfishly decides to help these people instead of his own family. He then lights the pool on fire for style points. Matt and Nova arrive at the third hurricane and drop the bomb, but it doesn't work as the bomb didn't land right. Apparently that was their last one, but to be fair, I guess they didn't have that much time to make another bomb, but I can't imagine realistically that was the case. Just then a shark erotically grabs onto the helicopter, and Nova falls out trying to kill it and gets vored. Max also crash lands, but I'm still on the vor thing to be honest. Luckily though, Matt lands somehow both upright and at the same old folks home that Finn is at, so that's nice, and Finn goes back to get the Plan B pill. Max readies the final bomb, pieces the fuck out of there, and the car goes into the hurricane, destroying the beast from the inside. Max saves his daughter by being badass as and gets vored in the process. Oh, and Nova's back, seemingly having enjoyed her time in the shark. I sure know I would've. Pretty sure I can't show any of this. It's obviously fake, but there's a lot of fake blood even still. But when they resuscitate her, she spits up water. I don't know where that would have come from. She was inside a shark. It probably would have been shark blood. Regardless. Nova and Matt have now set up to be a love interest because presumably it runs in the family. After fixing his marriage simply by being a badass, they all look at the pillars of smoke and trillions of taxpayer dollars in damage, and the movie ends. Oh boy, that sure was a Sharknado. HiKeiLoKei cried 3 times during that film, and I don't blame him. Really heart-wrenching stuff. But it goes without saying that this movie is far from perfect. I'm pretty sure even in the clips that I used, you probably noticed how many jump cuts there were. I didn't edit that. There's just a lot of overused shots of cities, roads, and driving. Half of this movie takes place in the goddamn car or cockpit, and it's edited really poorly. There's a lot of shot reverse shot, a lot of jump cuts, and a lot of unnecessary and repetitive shots, and it does hurt the watching experience after a while, even just casually. The acting in this film isn't fantastic, but that goes without saying. There's some god-awful line delivery in this film, and I mean, it's bad. They do the best with the scripts they're given, to be fair, but the script is bad. But it's important to remember, it was never meant to be good. This movie knows what it is, and this movie knows what it isn't. They weren't going for Oscars here. That being said, this movie's pretty ironically funny, which is the point. I mean, at one point, Max literally says, "We're not Kansas anymore." We get like 2 Terminator references. I mean, a guy kills 2 different sharks with a stool before we even get to the second act of this film. So it's safe to say we should keep our expectations relatively low here. Speaking of the story, it's pretty bad. The movie picks up really fast before setting up pretty much anything. I mean, even our main character's name, we learn that after the first shark attack. It's weird that this movie is basically a fetch quest for Finn's family, and then after they find Finn's family, the whole plot changes to, okay, how do we kill this thing? I didn't expect the movie to end up with them driving off into the sunset, but it's still jarring when this happens. Although the abysmal CGI is funny and entertaining at times, it really isn't excusable when it's over 50% of your film. If there's so many sharks in this movie, the least you could do is make them look good. But for what it is, I guess it's serviceable, but I still don't think it's excusable. The music in this movie really isn't worth mentioning. It's the music in the movie Sharknado. That's really the best way I can describe it. But all that being said, I'd still recommend you watch this movie if you have the time, especially with friends. It's on HBO Max and Amazon Prime, I believe. As for the scores, it's going to get a 3 out of 10 on the critical score. This movie's only redeeming quality is that it's pretty funny at sometimes, but the story, pacing, writing, all of that were all over the place. It's just not great. But for the fun score of this film, easiest 10 out of 10 I could possibly give it. It's fun to watch alone, but I recommend you get drunk and watch it with as many friends as your state will legally allow you to do. Well, Hollaback Girl? We made it through Sharknado, and thank God there is only one of those, right? Oh, well, fuck me.